Hello, friends. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Horn of Africa TV Conversations. I'm very happy to have today with us to engage in conversation and dialogue a good friend of Eritrea in Germany. His name is Mr. Dirk Vogelsang, and he is the chairman of the Deutsche Eritrea-Gesellschaft. I hope I pronounced it right, but it's the Eritrean-German or German-Eritrean Society. Welcome to our show, Dirk.
Yeah, welcome. I appreciate very much to be with you tomorrow. This is evening for you and morning for me.
Yes, indeed. We're at diametrically opposite ends of the globe, but the wonders of communications technology via
make
Zoom
it possible.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. And we're happy that you're joining us at such a short notice, because the situation in our part of the world, the Horn of Africa, is getting very interesting and critical, one might say.
Yes, I very much appreciate the possibility to go through this with you, and I think this is a fruitful entertainment.
Thank you very much. By way of introduction to our audience, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you came to know about Eritrea. Your friendship and solidarity with Eritrea goes back to over 4 decades, I gather, to the 70s when you were quite young. And and a little bit also of how you came to establish the Eritreo-German Society. It's a friendship society, yeah?
Yes. Well, to my person, to make it very short, I'm 64 years old. I have 2 children, grown up, of course, and I've studied law in Berlin and Bavaria back in the 70s, so it goes a long way back, and this is when I first met the Eritreans. It was 1974, 1975, something like that. And from that on, the friendship grew tighter and tighter. As you may know, times back in the 70s were very intensive. There were a lot of rebellious movements, and of course, as being young, we tried to support the liberation movements all over the world, not only the EPLF, but also the ZANU in Zimbabwe and the PFLP in Palestine, Nicaragua, and so on and so on. And so we all almost had a kind of affection for these groups and the political backgrounds. And I got to know the first Eritreans in West Berlin, actually, in 1974, 1975. And when I moved on to Bavaria to finish my studies, this grew more and more intensive. And I still remember my first appointment with the Eritrean, my long-lasting friend Eyob Teglab, when I first met him as a student in the cafeteria in Nuremberg. We wanted to donate them some money for purposes of the liberation movement, and he sat in his cafeteria stool and looked at me like that and said, "Wow, who are you to give us money?" This was my first. So I was a little bit confused, actually, because I thought we want to bring them as a sign of solidarity, and he asked me, "Who are you to bring us money?" So this was, and he got to be my closest friend over 4 decades. He died unfortunately 2 years ago. But this was a very long-lasting the beginning of a very long-lasting friendship. And yeah, so what was interesting for us, especially, was the fact that among all other liberation movements at that time, the EPLF was not only concentrating on military fighting, but also building the new society in the Sahel zone, as you know, and even when it was in the very beginnings. And this
the social programs, right?
Yeah, the social programs, the education, the health care, and the role of the women, of course. All these things were very, very stimulating, very interesting for us. And there was noticeable difference between the EPLF and some others. And so this was because our affection lay mostly by the Eritreans and by the EPLF.
And
from
then
that,
you were one of the first German friends of Eritrea to join the Eritrean Relief Association, right, in Germany?
Yes, actually, the German branch of the Eritrean Relief Association in Germany, called EHD, Eritrea Hilfswerk in Deutschland, was actually founded on the sofa in our living room together with Dr. Goldholm. Dr. Goldholm actually was also a long-lasting friend. He was, as you may know, the first ambassador in Germany. After the independence of Eritrea, and long before that, we founded the German branch of the Eritrean Relief Association. And back in these days, there was this 1985 was this Band-Aid thing in all over the world, in UK, Bob Geldof, and so on. And this was in everybody's mind. And so we did a lot of things, collected a lot of money and other things, and from that on we stabilized our humanitarian work. But this was not so much a political engagement, but more humanitarian work, which we conducted for more than nearly 25 years.
Which was a very important part of the national liberation struggle, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I think so. It was a mutual assistance, because also we had our own profits from that, not in a material way, but it was very enlightening to do these things, and we got a very close contact to many Eritreans. Some of us went to Eritrea even before the 1991, and this was a very enhancing thing. And so we were very lucky that we could do this together with the Eritreans, and the relation got tighter and tighter, and it actually helped also in a political way, because the people got to know about the circumstances and the living conditions in Eritrea, and which was for them actually a white spot on the landmark. So they didn't knew it before, and this was a very good program, I think.
So were you able to visit liberated Eritrea under the EPLF before 1991 in the Sahel area? Or
yes, there was one. I think it was shortly after the Battle of Alphabet.
Oh, 1988.
1988, 1989, and this was from the border of Sudan.
Yes,
and I got an impression of what was going on there. But our first regular visit was in only in 1997, I think. This was the first one, and then, of course, nearly yearly it went on and on and on.
Okay, so tell us then a little bit about how the Eritrean German or German Eritrean Society was established. How did that idea come about?
Well, actually, we have had in Germany long before that, before the war in 1998 and 2000, we had another society. It was called the Deutsch-Eritreische Freundschaftsgesellschaft, Eritreo-German Friendship Association, which was active for more than 15, 16 years, I think. And it was a very interesting and diverse mixture of people from very different branches, professions, and background. But they joined together just to put this support and assistance for Eritrea and the Eritreans forward. And we were very active and did a lot of things, and also in the media. In this time, when the Algiers peace agreement wasn't accepted by the Voliani, we had a big announcement in the one of the leading newspapers in Germany, the Frankfurter Rundschau, which was did cost a lot of money, as you may assume, but there were many people taking part in this. And but the German Eritrean Friendship Association split it and faded away a little bit after the war, because some of the people which didn't have this political background did not understand what was going on really there, and they were a bit frustrated about the idea of, from their point of view, supporting people and having to do with military actions. So this is split up, and then the activities were very, very low. So we did start a relaunch with the Eritreo-German Association a few years ago, just to continue the work under different conditions. And this was a very good idea of, I was part of it, but also many others. And then we established this association to bring, it was a relaunch. It was just to take on with this task and work together with the Eritreans and Germans in this association, with a more focus on the media, with a focus on what was going on in other organizations, and how can we influence, because we all were suffering very hard and very much because of the ever-growing propaganda of the enemies of Eritrea, and after 2018 Ethiopia also, and this was a very important reason for us to reestablish our engagement and
redouble your efforts towards supporting the peace.
Yes, this was the members of the German of the Eritreo-German Association, or the German Eritrea Association, are, some of them are the same from the old association, which took part already in the past, but there were many new ones, especially young ones, which is like you. I'm a little bit older than I was before. We all get older, and of course, it is one of our most important aims to involve the young people as well in Germany as Eritreans, just to pass on this to the younger generations, and they take part of this also, and this is for us a very good development.
Very, very important. I understand your co-chair, Fethawi Habte, is a young gentleman, much younger than us.
He's a typical representative of these. I met them in Eritrea also very often. These are very smart, very, very, very smart, very tough, well-educated guys, women and men, who are, let's say, something between the end of the 20s and beginning of the 40s. But this generation in the mid-30s is more and more taking part and engaging in all these matters, and this is a very important, I think, and a very good development.
Very happy to hear that. Likewise, we here at the Horn of Africa TV are just opening a youth program to engage this.
I thought, yes,
the growing diaspora. Those who were born in either Germany, the United States, or the United Kingdom of dual citizenship. So. That's a very important aspect. In fact, at some point, we would like to do an interview in German with you, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, fine. I'm looking forward to it. Yes, I appreciate it very much, because this is a very, very important part of the process which is laying ahead of us. If these people are very important, and so we are really doing some efforts to involve them, and we have made some successes in that direction, and we will continue. And also, it is very interesting to see the Germans and the Eritreans working together on the same topics and subjects. This is a very interesting thing.
Yes. So when the peace agreement broke in July 2018, tell us how you felt, your personal feelings after long years of this war situation, or sometimes called no peace, no war situation, 2 decades between these two fraternal countries. What was your feeling like in your society? How did you react to it?
I think we have to separate a little bit the emotional from the more rational things. Emotionally, of course, we were like everybody was. We were indefinitely happy. We were enjoying this. Some people were really crying out of joy, and this was so overdue, so that there was a big emotion going on, and everybody was greeting this development and welcoming it. From a more rational point of view, I admit I was one of those who were a little bit not suspicious, but cautious, I would say. A little bit cautious.
Cautiously optimistic, would you say?
Yeah, cautiously optimistic. But we of course, we knew, this was clear for us, that there must have been some preparation before that, because such a thing doesn't come out of the blue. But we were not sure about the backgrounds and about what was really the motive, because on the Eritrean side, it was clear. The Eritreans were all the time they were clear. They were just they stuck to this thing, and they were just patiently waiting for the process finally to come. On the Ethiopian side, it was a different thing. So we just had to get accustomed and to get used to this new situation. And we even had some discussions also in our association with some unrest, because some of our members thought, why don't you can be happy about that without any restriction, you know? And we said, okay, we have to be careful, but from a political point of view, I would say, and this is our general opinion, this was not only overdue, but it was finally, it was the result of the persistence and the tenacity of the Eritrean government. And of course, we were a little bit, I would not say disappointed, but when Abiy got the Nobel Prize, many of us thought they got it all wrong, you know, because actually Eritrea was the part who over long periods of years was a guarantor for this thing finally to happen. And when it came to that, we were very lucky and very optimistic, and watching what was going on. Will they open the borders? Will they not? How controlled have they to do this, and so on? And you know, there was a second discussion, at least here in Germany, after a few months when there were some problems with the uncontrolled coming in of people and the traffic. They told this was just a very, very short breakup, just a very short melting of the ice. But now they are back to square one again, and all this nonsense. And of course, we knew it was not. It was a stable and reliable fundament for this, but. Of course, nobody did have a clue what would happen so soon afterwards, as we have now seen in late 2020. Even though many of us had some foresights and some notions that this thing was not at an end. You know, it would go on, and there would be some problems. But okay, basically, 2018, this was a very relieving news.
The TPLF's belligerent stance against the peace was obvious. So when it launched the attack or war on the Ethiopian army base in Tigray, and what happened the past 3 months ago. How did you react to the way this was portrayed in the Western media or in Western political circles?
Well, let me first say, Elias, that we have had many discussions about the question: was this unevitable or not? And our answer was yes and no at the same time. Normally, from an objective point of view, you would say no, because this is just madness. This is crazy, so this in this extension with this attack on the Northern Command and killing so many troops and the plan behind it. This could not be foreseen, I think. But of course, we knew that the TPLF, the Wali, were working on this for a very long time. This was a programmed, scheduled, and a well-orchestrated plan to go further and further and more into this confrontation. They were searching this. They were looking for this. So on the other hand, yes, it was unevitable, but not from a logical point of view, but according to their plans. But they miscalculated and misunderstood the situation completely. So I think especially what the military situation. In relating to the military situation, because according to my information, the plan originally was to have a lot of the troops in this Northern Command coming over to them, and this actually did not happen. Right on the contrary. So from the beginning on, this plan didn't work, and also the other parts of the plan to disturb violence and clashes all over Ethiopia didn't work also. But as you know, in the Western media, and this is relating to your question, the reflection of the Western media, from the day where the fighting intensified, mid of November, something like that. The first articles and the first media news came about atrocities, about violations, about rapes, and so on. And from this moment on, everything which had happened before was totally forgotten. We had made some steps, not only we as a Eritreo-German association, but others also, to attack hard the German government and the foreign ministry for not giving an explanation or some statement to the missile attacks on Eritrea, on Asmara. And just in the very moment when we had reached this point, there came this statement of the Department of the Foreign Ministry. So we thought, okay, they have learned at last a little bit, because they condemned it, and the words were rather clear, and there was not in between, but this was a very straight statement, and we thought maybe they have learned something after all. But as it turned out, this was not the case. And so everything was forgotten. How this thing started was forgotten. It was forgotten the role of the TPLF in bringing about a situation where all these humanitarian problems were certain to arise. And from that day on, we knew definitely that we had to do something against this. And so this was what finally led to our paper and to our statement, because we wanted to make a joint approach to put some things to the right side, and not to stand passive when all these fabricated stories grew louder and bigger every day.
So this paper that you wrote recently, I think late February, am I correct?
Yes.
Titled Secure the Peace Process in the Horn of Africa.
Yeah, this is the title.
What were its objectives, and who was your target audience? I read it's a 7-page long article, well argued, with fact-based, and towards the end also it has an appendix of chronology of events.
Yes.
So your target audience in this was who? And by the way, we will put a link to that in the
that's
PDF
fine.
version of the paper, so that our viewers can peruse it also.
Yeah, perfect. Well, actually, we had to have this plan even before, because regarding the long situation, how it developed since 2018, we had discussions not only in our association, but with other important groups also, that we should present a joint statement, something of a paper in which this is a fact sheet, something like that, which is fact-based and which, from a very objective and tell it like it is point of view, inform the people about what was actually going on and what tradition all this had come up. And we were very cautious with this project, because in a situation where even the Eritrean government was very quiet and not willing to give statements every day, but just to continue to monitor the situation, we felt not our position to go forward with something like this, to give an overall explanation about what happened and what is our explanation for that. So we're discussing for several weeks how can we do this, and then the idea came up to say, let's make a fact sheet, let's make this appendix, and give some short information before that about the context with the perspective in which that has to be put. This was the idea, and the rest, of course, as you know, was hard work. But we were, of course, from the very beginning, we knew that we had to do this in German as well as in English, and there will be a translation in the Tigrinya and Arabic too, so that we can spread this around and divide this among many parties. The basic idea was to create a situation with our modest possibilities where other people, and especially the politicians in the EU, but also here in Germany, and of course the media, could not say, we knew nothing about that. This is all new to us. Of course it is not, but we want you just, here are the facts. What do you say? And put one and one together. And you can see what is going on, because we have had this before. Not only once, we have had this before for quite a lot of times. And there are many things which we didn't mention in this paper because it would have carried us too far. But for instance, when I was in Eritrea a few years ago, one of my visits, I had the possibility to visit the mine in Bisha. And at the very same time, there was a congress of all the African trade unions in Asmara, and I was a guest or some kind of delegate in this Congress. And there was this discussion, as you may know, about forced labor. Was a big theme in these days.
Yes, that was around the time the Commission of Inquiry brought the false accusations at the UN Human Rights Commission in Geneva, 2015, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly, and it was also very well orchestrated, because some of the delegates, even from the African countries, which bureaus in Brussels and in South Africa and so on, they tried to push very hard to condemn Eritrea for that, and they tried to, let's say, to win the floor, to win the stage. And within 3 days, this was totally shifted, and the other delegates and the big majority of them really saw what was going on, and they were quite, let's say, this was experienced men, well-educated men and women, but they were really astonished what was going on, seeing ministers sitting in front of them and saying, you can ask everything you want, just talk, we will explain everything. And so we have had these campaigns before, and not only with the Somalia subject with Al-Shabaab, and we have had this many times, and we wanted to put this into context just to see the patterns behind that, what is really going on. And from the beginning, our plan was to distribute this paper let's say, we are always talking about waves these days, the COVID-19 thing is coming in waves. So we also created our own waves. The first wave was directly pointed to the EU.
The European Union.
This European Union, yes. This the special envoy, the foreign minister of Finland, Pekka Haavisto, was instructing the other foreign ministers and telling them about his visit. He was in Sudan afterwards. He was in Ethiopia. I'm not sure whether he was, and I don't think he was in Tigray itself, but he had a lot of information. And these were the days where they were informed by him to come to a conclusion. And we wanted to interfere in this process and to make our position clear. And so we had a very widespread address distributor, and we put this to every one we could get hand of to make our point clear, and we got some answers. Others didn't answer, but we have certain knowledge of that this paper was discussed also there, and then we made the same thing in Germany with the foreign ministry, with the Außenministerium, and we have some, of course. In our network, we have some relations and connections with with former ambassadors of Germany, and so we let this thing go around. And in the second wave, we try to inform other organizations, institutions, journalists, which are from which we know that they have to do with this subject. And in the third wave, where this is widespread, we go to the media, and this is the stage we're in now. And we try now to make a follow-up of this, but not by a new paper, but just to tighten and strengthen the contact with the people whom we have addressed to get a reaction, just to prompt them to give some answer. And okay, we will see how this works out. But so far, we have got a very good feedback and response from all sides, and also critical ones, of course. But this is just what we wanted. We want to get into the thing, and as long as someone is talking with us and we are discussing, it is better than this silence. And we want to just make one step to break the silence.
Yes, breaking the silence is very, very important. Also, breaking the negative propaganda, the intense propaganda in the world media, especially. I hear that earlier you told me Der Spiegel, one of the largest media outlets in Germany, is considered somewhat credible, but I don't know how it is now. It's considered a large mainstream weekly, I think. It had a coverage on this issue. Tell us a little bit about how did you find its coverage? Was it balanced, objective, or was it more or less the hearsay type of what we see elsewhere?
Even worse. The last thing. Well, you have to know, of course, the Spiegel in Germany is a very important medium. It's the leading magazine in Germany, and not only in Germany, in the German-speaking world, as even in Austria, Switzerland, and so on. And it is rather a rare occasion that they do a piece from abroad about a subject abroad on whole 4 pages. This is a very long one. And this was very well made up and thought of. And I can show you just the image of that. This is the title, and then it goes on for pages.
For 4 pages, yeah.
And the title is in German it is Chronik des Grauens. In English you would translate it as a Chronicle of Horror or Chronicle of terrifying people, of gruesome, whatever you like. And the story in this.
We will put up the front page of it on our screen for our viewers, but the gist of it is what? What is its argument, or its?
Well, the story actually is about the narrative is about a Tigray doctor who is in a refugee camp in the triangle border of Eritrea, Ethiopia, and Sudan, and he is the one. The narrator. They have interviewed him for 3 or 4 days, and through him spoken to a lot of other so-called witnesses, people who fled, and to make this short, the story goes like it was not the regular Ethiopian troops, but it was the Amare militia and Eritrean troops who were committing the worst crimes, and who are responsible for the atrocities and rapes and so on and so on. And this always shifts from, and this is very very tricky, because they always put some really believable short passages where they describe the situation in this refugee camp with very, very hard and very worse conditions, and people are really, really suffering, and it is believable. And this, after such a passage, follows always another passage where the enlarged background and the narrative is continued, and this is this goes like it is like all the time in the German media with these so-called Aksum massacre and other things, and the role of the so-called role of the Eritrean troops within that, and all the times when proof is needed, they also it is only, like always, it is only hearsay. There are reports, they say, that they are the speech, the context is in passive words. One has reported, or it is to be known. You cannot grasp it. You cannot grasp it in no way. And then, of course, the typical people come up. It is they have carried everything together. We know them, of course. There are some. In Belgium, in the Netherlands, and in Norway, and so on. You know all the names who are constantly involved as hired agents, if you want to say so, and make up these things, and they relate to that. And so, in the end of this article, it is a cry for international intervention, and they are not quite sure whether this will be on the more humanitarian way, or whether other measures should be conducted. But it is even for the Spiegel, this is a very they do this in a manner as if they don't have to fear any resistance from any side. And this is where we and others step in, because we will also react on that. And we are in contact with the author of this article. His name is Fritz Sharp, and we have contacted him, and we have fed him with material and so on. And he's now very defensive and not knowing what to do exactly. So we are on this, but this is how the things work here.
Yeah, I must say, I too have been rather baffled by this intense level of propaganda. I mean, over the past 2 decades and a half, I have monitored closely the writings in the media, various NGO reports, human rights reports, but what I see of the reports of the past 3 months is just way out of proportion. And as you indicated, it seems that with what is being pushed at the United Nations Security Council, for example, this type of stories, so horror stories, fabricated, of course, are being hyped up, pumped up, and in the end, it seems that they're pushing for what is known as humanitarian intervention. Do you have a sense of that? Do you feel that that's where they're heading with this? Because the Ethiopian government is saying, well, come and see, we have nothing to hide. You reporters can come in, access to humanitarian relief is open. But it seems that they are the goalposts keep moving. First, it's the Eritrean troops have to come up, then they come out, then the Amara forces have to come out, as if Tigray is itself an independent country that is invaded, not part of Ethiopia. So, what do you make? How do you make sense of this? Sense of the bizarre and irrational situation?
Well, I think it's a bit complicated, but luckily not only for Eritrea or us or Ethiopia, but also for the U.S. State Department and for the European Union as well. The first thing is, I would agree with your opinion relating to the humanitarian intervention, because I think this is always this is a pattern also. They have done this a very long time. They have done this not only in Africa and other parts of the world. They have done this, as you may know, also here in Yugoslavia, which is very close. Which is very close. It was the very same scene. You bring up a genocide. You find some people who support this opinion, and especially in Germany this time, this were the Greens, which was a very special thing also, and this is always the same. So I think
the Hollywood movie Wag the Dog makes very clear, doesn't it? This was
a very, very remarkable thing, but in the negative way. So I think this is, of course, part of the normal program, I would say. This is this is always in their toolbox. They have this always in their toolbox. But I think they are working on this subject from other sides also. We have the impression that they are very eagerly trying to find some spot where they can put a wedge between Eritrea and Ethiopia, and also jam or drive a wedge between Abiy and his followers or other Ethiopian parts. So they are making this from all sides. The one thing is separating Eritrea from Ethiopia, or otherwise Ethiopia from Eritrea, by trying to force them to go into some kind of distance. And the other thing is they work hard on the
within
leading forces in Ethiopia as well, to weaken the position of Abiy. When it comes to sanctions, of course, it is very complicated, because how should this be done? I don't think it is a real option and imaginable.
All indications so far are that Russia and China will not stand for this, as they were.
Russia and China and also India, they will, of course, they will stick to their. There's no doubt about that. They will stick to their point of view, and they will say, we do not interfere into the sovereignty and of other states. And but the State Department, I think it's just a step in a larger program. They go to the UN, to the Security Council. They try to make their point there, knowing that they will veto it. Then they say, okay, we have done everything we could in the United Nations Security Council. They won't listen to reason, so we have to act on ourselves. It's always the same with the United. And then
as happened in 2003, the
exactly.
Iraq invasion. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think it's just a rhetoric step to make clear we've tried everything before, and now we are in a situation where we have to move on ourselves, hopefully together with the European Union or others. But then it is getting very difficult because I do not think that they can. I've read in the last days. I've read something about someone picturing this Yugoslavia picture. You know, creating a failed state in Ethiopia, like they did in the Middle East, in several countries, as you know, just to be in this. But this is a very unstable option because I think they need some secular states in the Horn of Africa. Islamic influences are growing up everywhere, as you know, even in Kenya, Somalia, of course, but elsewhere also, Sudan, South Sudan. So they need this, and I cannot imagine that they will go so far as to put sanctions on Ethiopia and Eritrea as well, on both of them. This will be a very, very far-fetched step. So I think they have to consider when they move against Eritrea alone and leaving Ethiopia beside. This could even tighten more the relation between Abiy and Elias and Ethiopia and Eritrea. So this is also it's not a, and I'm thankful for that. It's not a easy situation for them. They have to be very cautious about their steps, and I think there are also many fractions on their part who argue in this and argue in the other direction. So I do not where this leaves us, but it is a very, very volatile situation and a very dangerous situation also. But I'm rather confident, and we are rather confident that this was what since 2018 was built up between Ethiopia and Eritrea will last. I have no doubt about that. And I don't think that they can spread up and drive a wedge into that connection. This is a rather stable one. And of course, the neighboring countries, not only the neighboring other countries also, now watch very, very closely what will happen there. And as you mentioned before, when we last had our phone call, of course, the US and others try to do something like they do now in Kenya and other parts to get some
African voices.
Yeah, some African voices, because this is actually what they need. It's the same pattern like always with humanitarian aid. You need to create a situation where someone calls for help. Or where someone says we cannot, like in Darfur or wherever, when they say if it comes to genocide, we have to. Everything is finished. We cannot talk longer about sovereignty or something like that. We have to interfere. And this is always the same pattern. And I think that they are working on this as well from outside as from trying to do this from inside as well. Now, just to split them up.
Now, as you said, there are growing voices from the Eritrean diaspora and Ethiopian diaspora coming together. In fact, as this is going to be uploaded, there is going to be a massive demonstration of solidarity in Washington, D.C. By Ethiopians and Eritreans, people of goodwill for peace, and to call for the United States government to stop unwarranted interferences in internal matters of Ethiopia. So in this regard, what do you think progressive friends of Eritrea and Ethiopia in Europe, friends that want peace in the Horn of Africa overall, how can they help this process? As you put in your paper, how can they help in securing the peace process in the Horn of Africa? What is your recommendation or advice or call for solidarity here?
I think there are there are a lot of points, but basically there are 2 points. The one, and for us as Eritreo-German Association, most important points is we have to dismantle, we have to expose the propagandists and these fabricated stories and these narratives who turn everything upside down. This is a very important thing because it tightens the room for maneuvering in a political way of the others. And if truth is to be told, and if it cannot be ignored anymore, then they have to react. We have had this, I was in Eritrea, just a short example, even though we don't have the time, but I was in Amare when there was this rally from the Islamic Church, when there was some, as you have heard, was some shooting in the street. I was in the Basoira, just 600 meters from that. And I went there and nothing had happened really. You know, nobody was hurt, nobody. So at the 2 days later, when I was on the flight back to Germany, the HoA journal, the Today's Journal, most important breaking news on the TV channel, the public TV channel in Germany, they told a story about a massacre. Yes. Ironically, at the same time as I had in a conversation with Osman Saleh in Asmara, there was really a massacre in Ethiopia. But from some special militia, I don't remember the town right now. But this was only brought on BBC on page 7 or 8. But this in Germany, this thing in Asmara was topic number 1. And we went to these journalists and to the correspondents, and we told them we were just coming from there. We have witnessed it, and so on and so on. And of course, they were very, very defensive, very shy. They were really in a big loss how to react, because of course they are also a little bit proud of their journalistic and ethic standards, and they could not fulfill this demand. And so, of course, we have the possibility. If we stick to the facts, and if we tell the truth, and if we make them bring things to their knowledge which they cannot ignore, they will be divided. Of course, we will always have the ones who don't give a damn. They also exist, but there are others who say, hold it, just a moment, there must be something, even from a logical point of view. I mean, the former TPLF leader, Debretson, he claimed that his troops had retaken on the 28th and 29th of November, had retaken Aksum. This was his commitment, this was his press release. And at the same time, this massacre should have, you don't have to be politically educated. You just have put 1 and 1 together from a logical point of view. This just cannot be. The same thing with the hyenas eating all the murdered and tortured people. And at the same time, in this Spiegel article, the same person says we were forced to dig mass graves for the bodies who had been completely eaten by the hyenas. So what, this is, even if one just has a clear mind, and our job is our task and our aim is to bring all these things to knowledge, and of course to put them into a context and to see the musters, the patterns behind this, to emphasize the question: in whose interest is this? Why should he react like the Spiegel even says that it is the aim and the target of the Eritrean government and Isaias Afwerki to destabilize Ethiopia, which is totally crazy. Even if you think him a bad guy, if you would think this is just unlogical. And so we have to go forward and to bring some brain and some sense into all these matters, to make it not so easy or to make it more difficult for the politicians to say we did not know that, or we just, because it's just like copy and paste all the time, copy and paste. This is one thing. And the other thing, The second item is that we have a very positive and very prospectful new situation, Ethiopians and Eritreans being together, joining, like you said in this radio demonstration. We can, and this is what we also want to do. We want to present ourselves as one in mind, and to say this is not only Eritrean position, this is not only Ethiopian position. This is just what the whole process
people are demanding.
Yeah, of course, yes, and this is in the reception of the media and for the eyes of an uninformed spectator. This does make a big difference. And this is why we also think it very important what Abiy has done in the past and I think will do in the future, just to say, no, even as Eritrea is concerned, they can speak for themselves, of course, but I can say this is not true and this is not, and there have not been, and so on. This is a very important thing. And so we are planning for some actions also, which can be conducted together by the Ethiopian and the Eritrean people, and together with us, there are also the same associations from Ethiopians with Germans, and we are in contact with them, and we try to build up a common thing, and which may even lead to public positioning or positioning in the public, and this may help also. So I think these are the most important lessons to be learned from this, and the rest, of course, is detailed work. As you may know, or you definitely know, in all the decades I've been working with and for Eritreans and for Eritrea, everybody has made the same experience. Once someone goes there, but the very moment someone enters Eritrea, the people just, you only can say they just don't get it. They are totally confused in a positive way, because they say everything which was told me just is bullshit. Which does not mean that there is everything okay and that there are not mistakes made, and that of course we are all humans, but basically they make the experience people who have not a very political education, which are very common people, but they know what is going on. And on the other side, from the same Spiegel we have here, there was a journalist, a female journalist. She went to Asmara. She was there 2 weeks. In all the other parts, Eritreans said, "Go where you want to. You can go everywhere. You can ask everywhere. You can talk to everyone." And just to illustrate what this thinking is, she found nothing about all the things she wanted to find. She found no tortured people. She found no people who are just looking on the street like in a dictatorship. She all missed that. She wanted enlightened people who felt themselves as their own masters in their own country, and this was so disturbing for her that the only conclusion she could draw was, this Eritrean government is so smart, they are so clever, that they even force their people to appear lucky.
Millions of actors.
They refer to Eritrea as as you may know, in Germany, this is a very big item. They refer to Eritrea as the North Korea of Africa.
Yeah,
while the last German ambassador said no, even to his knowledge, this is, if at all, such a comparison is to be made, it is more the Cuba of Africa, if at all, but definitely not North Korea, what everyone thinks about North Korea. And this woman could find no other solution than to say, if I didn't find anything of what I was looking for, then it must be even worse than I thought. They not only suppress their people, they have managed to let them appear as not to be suppressed, as to be lucky people in a free country, which is, but this is how this is made.
Cognitive dissonance at
yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think you have in America this, what is this called, multiple disorder disease, huh?
Yes. Well, we need to keep challenging and debunking the lies and the propaganda. In this regard, I think whenever I'm confronted with situations like this and young people ask me, why is the media so hell-bent on distorting and telling the lies? I give them always that article by the great investigative journalist John Pilger and the documentary filmmaker. His article that he wrote in 2011, 9 years ago, is titled "The Triumph of Propaganda and War by Media." It's a very essential. He breaks it down how it works, how the mass media works, and how it has been consistently falling to lower and lower levels. So I think we should also provide a link to that article.
Yeah, it's very good
section,
idea, yes.
So the young people can understand how propaganda works, because consciousness is very important, as you said. If we raise the consciousness of people of goodwill and show the truth, then the mountain of lies slowly will be demolished piece by piece, I think.
Yeah.
What else needs to be done, do you think?
Pardon?
What else needs to be done, you think, in the last few minutes that are remaining for us?
Well, if I may, I would bring up one other point which relates to your question. As you may know, because this is not a specialty of Germany, we always have this problem as well within the Eritrean communities as in the Germans institutions or associations which have to do with Eritrea. The people are very frustrated very often and suffering from the absence of the normal life and the normal stories and the normal facts to be told about Eritrea, because everyone knows the achievements which have been made in healthcare, which have been made in education, which have been made in erasing all kind of diseases. And if you ask some Scandinavian institute, Eritrea always is on the top of the list, among the first three places. It is largely known, and with small resources, the country in 20 years has achieved so much, and you can witness this there when you go to Massawa, to this education center, when you do other things, you know all this, and this is never or rarely or very seldom a subject in the public, and if it is, there is a sharp contradiction which is felt by even people not interested in politics. They say, how is that possible? If this is a dictatorship, if this is a gruesome system, military suppressed people and so on, or someone related to Eritrea as the biggest open air prison of the world, and all these nonsense, how can at the same time this country make so many things correct and rightly and in the interest of the people? This cannot be. There's something, they just cannot put it together in their brain. And of course, the people here suffer because many people don't know these facts. They don't know the true Eritrea. So I think even this unpolitical items and unpolitical subjects are very, very important to bring nearer to the people. Culture, music, and so on, all these things, art, so that then can understand what is really going on in this country, and why the government and the policy in Eritrea has very, very, very strong and very, very deep roots within the population. This is one thing, and the other thing is we have to talk about the motives as well. If you say why are they so you said hell-bent, I think you said, but on on condemning Eritrea and accusing Eritrea and putting Eritrea away as one of the big
destabilizers or spoilers.
Yes, destabilizers, and what was the saying of the last American president of Trump, and so one of these very, very malicious states. Mm-hmm. I think the motives, or we have this discussion very often in our board. I think the motive behind this is that the people ruling in the United States or in Europe are very conscious about one thing. If this will be an example, if this what Eritrea does and what Eritrea also teaching to others, and which they can learn from them, if this is not only a single event, but if this would spread, then this is very, very dangerous for us. Because the real crime, from my point of view, from our point of view, the real crime Eritrea is committing is just to say, let us live in peace and let us develop ourselves. And we don't want to be dependent on neither International Monetary Fund or loans from other. We just want to be ourselves and develop our country. And we do not want to take part in the global market in the same way as you do with other African countries or in Latin America and so on. So this is why Eritrea is very, from their inside, very, very, very dangerous. And even without hurting anyone, or without even before these rumors about Eritrean troops abroad and so on, this is an ongoing, long-lasting thing. And this is why they are so, like you said, hell-bent on putting Eritrea down. And this is for us the reason to put something against this and to emphasize all the people and the forces who try to let this live. And I'm confident that it will. And this is, of course, a long-lasting thing, but this is very important, and to put the motives behind these actions. It was the same thing with Yugoslavia in the past. They were 95% self-sufficient, and this had to be brought to an end. And this is what this all is about, I think. And so we have. It is. Also for us, it is very important to support Eritrea and support the partnership of Ethiopia and Eritrea and all the other states in the Horn of Africa, because that could lead to a far more positive perspective for others also.
Indeed, I would totally agree with you. The Horn of Africa as a region is in dire need of positive peace, not just peace, but positive peace, which there is a difference, a growing cooperation among the nations, the end of all kinds of senseless conflicts, of vicious cycle of poverty. And towards such end, I think all of us, people of goodwill, progressive forces need to support and defend to secure the peace process in the Horn of Africa. And I really appreciate you taking the time to come and talk with us and explain what the Eritrea-German society is doing and what you have been doing in terms of solidarity and explaining the situation to the German public and to the larger European public as well. So we will continue this conversation in the future, revisit it with you. As I said, perhaps a German interview in German would also be a very good idea. We have young people that are very keen on spreading the message in German, because there's a large public there. And Any last thoughts or remarks before we wrap up this program, this show?
No, you know it like it is. Rome wasn't built in one day, and we will continue this, of course. I wanted to express my gratitude also from my fellow members of the board of the German Eritrean Society. I appreciate very much that you gave us the opportunity to present ourselves in the Horn of Africa TV, and we feel a bit flattered also because we are just a very small and organization, but I think that time is also crucial. Of course, eventually, like it always is, the truth will come out, but time is crucial because it is also a competition with time. We have to strengthen our efforts so that Eritrea and Ethiopia have enough time and air to breathe to do what they are going to do and what they have begun in 2018, like you said. And this is why I think we should emphasize this, and why we should even more tighten our efforts to march forward. And if this could be done at another occasion, I would be very grateful also. But thank you very much again for letting us be our guests this morning or this night.
Dirk Vogelsang, the chairman of the Eritrea-German Society, I thank you very much. Dear viewers, that wraps up this session of Horn of Africa Conversations. Until next time, I am Elias Amare. Peace. Salam.
Salam. Thank you very much.